What's up, guys? I'm the one you lost, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this artwork of Bae from Hololive. So, this particular artwork I wanted to try something different. I actually have been working really hard on trying to study values and perspective. And in this particular artwork I wanted something kind of crazy in terms of composition and dynamics. So what I went with was kind of this weird upside down pose. And then as I was working on it, I kind of had to figure it out as I went. You know what I mean? So we started off just kind of creating the pose, taking into account the motion and the movement of everything. So we're using a composition that's in the shape of a C, and we're going to be using her tail to kind of make it turn it into an S composition. So as you can see, this draws an S with the character and a C at the same time, thus leading the eye where I want it. Her arm points to the face, her legs point back to her behind, and her tail loops back around in a golden ratio. There's a lot going on here in terms of composition. In terms of the hair, I went simpler than I usually do, and I've been kind of figuring all that out. So we have the basic idea here, and we've got the whole feeling of everything. The idea is to get the composition to look fun and very goodness, what is the word? Very dynamic. Okay, that word works. Whether or not it's the correct word, you can be the judge of that. But so far, if you've been following me for a while, you'll know that I've been working in a new style, and I've really been enjoying that. So if you're liking this video so far and you want to know more about how I do my artworks and for what reason, go ahead and hit a like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, and get me seen in the algorithm, because right now the algorithm hates me because I make boring videos. But what we have here is we have the basic values. Basically what I'm going at here is trying to create variation and movement. Kind of a grading here. There's a huge jump in time here because I started working on it to kind of like plan the values out more, but I forgot to record. So please forgive me, I did forget to record there. But now we are working on the line art. And the line art is one of my favorite things to do because it's super relaxing. I know not everyone likes to do it, but I personally love to do it. And for a while I haven't finished any artworks. I've just been doing concepts and posting them here on YouTube and Twitter. But we have the basic idea, the foundation. So a big thing to remember when you're doing line art is to have dynamics and variation. So for example, I thicken up corners. I make sure there's very depth and thickness of lines. So whenever I started doing the breasts here, I was going to do the tank top, but then I kind of slowly decided I wanted to do, instead of a tank top, I wanted to do kind of a bikini just because it fit the summer theme a little bit more. And that's what I was really going for, was kind of like this fun, like summer artwork. And the motion that it entails, it was a lot of work, but it was definitely totally worth it. You'll notice that the bikini is a little bit loose, and that's just kind of to add to the motion a bit more. And we had the basic idea for the torso and the legs, so now we're going to be doing the hair and the jacket. So there we go. Lots and lots of detail with the jacket and the lines, and that is by design. You'll also notice whenever I do artworks that I do not line my backgrounds. And that is intentional. I prefer to have kind of less detail in the background because it's not the focus. I want the character to be the focus. It's important to remember whenever you are drawing a character to focus your details and decide where you want them to be placed. So for this particular artwork, with the values that I've created, I wanted more detail in the shadows and a little less detail into light. Your goal when balancing an artwork is to decide what you want your focus to be. Do you want the darks to be your focus? Do you want the midtones to be your focus? Or do you want the brights to be your focus? And you want to go into kind of like a rule of thirds, because rule of thirds is just better in almost every regard for everything you do in art. So for this particular artwork, I couldn't decide whether I wanted the midtones or the brights to be the focus, and I kind of lost direction because of that. So I'm going to have to keep practicing and hopefully get better at picking my values and my focus and detail. And that's basically the whole idea of how to plan an artwork. So now we're doing the base colors. I have the sketch on top to kind of cheat and figure out where my values are. And overall, that's just the basic idea. I'm going for very similar midtones because I want the shadows to affect everything. So all the midtones are kind of in the same in terms of saturation and luminosity and brightness. So now we have the basic idea, and I'm going to start playing around with the lighting. Now, in particular, I want kind of the legs to cast a shadow on the body, but not perfectly, because I want the face to stand out. And if I did a perfect cast on what would actually be the way the shadow cast upon the face, it would look kind of awkward and in a weird way almost ruin the composition. So sometimes you want to go with rule of cool and not 100% accuracy. And deciding on when to do that actually takes some understanding of how things work, because the reality is to break the rules, you got to know and understand the rules. And when you know the rules and you understand them, you know that sometimes just because the rules are the way they are doesn't mean they're correct in terms of what makes it look the best. So my advice is learn the rules, learn the fundamentals of art, and then after you learn them, slowly start to realize when they are a hindrance versus when they're actually helping. And that's going to help you out like crazy. So now we have the whole basic idea here, and we're kind of adjusting everything and getting the levels correct. There we go. So you'll notice a few times when I'm rendering that I'm using the hue and saturation adjustment layer to make a grayscale version to make sure the values are correct. I want to make sure that there's strong contrast and they're not just like barely overlaying. And the goal is to have a correct amount of saturation while at the same time it having the correct value. And value is just the whites versus the blacks and the midtones. That's all you need to know. So now we're doing the background here. I'm adjusting it to kind of make sure that it's separated from the character. We are adding light sources to all the little fun balls in the background, which I think are kind of a nice touch. We're separating the character from the background, adding little pieces of eye candy everywhere to kind of adjust, doing some saturation and post-processing. Now we're doing some clouds, and we're just going to keep adjusting until it looks 100% correct. There we go. Just constantly changing and planning things out. So now we have the basic idea. I did cut out doing a high pass filter in Photoshop along with some camera raw filter. And then I'm just putting it all into one folder and I'm making adjustments on top of it through rendering, which is just going on top of everything I've already made. So we're adding this cotton filter I have on that I got off of the Clip Studio Paint store that I really, really like. It's nothing too fancy. It's basically just a blur feature. And then I'm using an airbrush, using the checkered box by the color wheel, which is basically just an eraser, to remove the blur where I want people to look, which is the face, the breast, and the behind. And by doing that, we are now taking everything we want people to look at again, and we're going to select it all using the selection pen. We're going to copy and paste it, and then we are going to go to sharpen and unsharp mask, and this is going to make the places where I want you to look a lot more crisp and very harsh, meaning it's going to draw your eye even more, which is the goal. We want people to look where we want people to look. The composition, the values, the colors, all of it with the sole purpose of getting people to look where we want. And it's going to take a while for it to start to kind of connect with you, and it's one of those things that it's going to take time to get to the point where you understand where and how to get people to look where you want them to look. And just don't stress about it too much. Take it, learn it one day at a time. And there are tons of awesome creators on YouTube who do things explaining value, composition, colors, color theory, all these things, and it will help you. But anyway, that is pretty much this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.